It has been said that the Supreme Court is like a family composed entirely of in-laws. 42 years ago, I was assigned to help then Judge O'Connor join that family. It was my first day in a new job at the Justice Department, and I was proud to be part of her team. I thought our group did a pretty good job. After all, the justice was confirmed 99-0, and we must have had something to do with that. Only many years later was I told that she thought I had been slow in getting material to her. I should have learned that when she had a challenge or responsibility before her, her approach was simple and direct. Get it done. The way she participated in oral argument at the court is a good example. Now, justices have many different styles on the bench. Some like the back and forth of debates. Others pose unusual hypotheticals. Some badger counsel to get concessions. Others spell out a particular theory at length and ask for comment. Now, all this is fine and good, but Justice O'Connor was different. After the advocate had gotten through only a couple sentences, the justice would jump in before her colleagues could with a well-prepared question. The question was clear, direct, even enunciated carefully. It went to the heart of the lawyer's case with no fluff. Her approach was, let's get what's most important to me on the table at the outset. Get it done. Another example came the day I was nominated to succeed Justice O'Connor. Reporters had asked her what she thought of the nomination. She had nice things to say, but ended by noting that the only problem was I didn't wear a skirt. My initial reaction was, of course, everything's negotiable. But fortunately, it didn't come to that. She called me later that day and said there's something very important that I had to do right away. My ears perked up. She said, you have to hire my incoming law clerks, or they won't have jobs. My ears unperked. But she saw a problem for the clerks and a solution, and she wanted to get it done so they could rest easy. She seemed a bit put out when I said I probably would wait until I was confirmed to do anything on the subject. Now, Justice O'Connor had set her actual departure date from the court to coincide with the day her successor was confirmed. But a second vacancy on the court and associated delays led to her and I sitting together for more than half the next term. That was enough time for another lesson. She and I were discussing a case in chambers, and I think she grew tired of my on the one hand and on the other hand. She simply got up and said, you just have to decide. There was impatience in her voice, but I don't think it was entirely due to me. She had made her own decision about the future and announced her retirement 6 months earlier. I think she was anxious to get it done. The last several weeks after Justice O'Connor's passing, I have spoken with many women judges and lawyers who were young adults when Justice O'Connor became the first. They say the same thing. Younger people today cannot understand what it was like before Justice O'Connor in what now seems a distant past. That distance is a measure of time, but is also a measure of Justice O'Connor's life and work. In nearly a quarter century on the court, she was a strong, influential, and iconic jurist. Her leadership shaped the legal profession, making it obvious that judges are both women and men. The time when women were not on the bench seemed so far away because Justice O'Connor was so good when she was on the bench. She was so successful that the barriers she broke down are almost unthinkable today. But not so in her lifetime. Sandra Day O'Connor had to study and launch a career in the law when most men in the established profession did not want women lawyers, let alone judges. She had to find her own style to cajole, persuade, and unite colleagues when there was no example to follow for the first female Senate leader in the country. She had to ignore slights and work to bring people together in social, professional, and political life. She had to demonstrate excellence as the 102nd member of the Supreme Court, all the while setting a model as the first woman on the job. She had to fight cancer and Alzheimer's in public ways that helped others and that promoted dignity and respect. She had to speak and teach and inspire through the country and around the world about the necessity of judicial independence, so our generation and the next would have a roadmap to safeguard it with all the gifts God has given us. She had to be both the most important woman in government and also a devoted wife who, with her devoted husband, John, raised 3 sons of whom they were so very proud. All this and more she had to do, and she got it done.
I'm Jay O'Connor, the youngest son of Sandra Day O'Connor. Normally my voice isn't quite this raspy or alluring. After a very sore throat last night, I woke up and was hardly able to speak, so I'll do my best. Mr. President, Chief Justice Roberts, and Evan Thomas, the entire O'Connor family is truly, truly honored and grateful for your generous words about our mother. We gladly shared our mother with the nation for 40 years. So imagine what it means to her sons and grandsons to hear the tributes that you've given here today and the outpouring of public admiration she's received since her death. Thank you. I would like to share with you all a son's personal portrait of the human side of our mother, focusing on what she loved, what she believed, and what she was like, especially as a mom. I should note that I've asked the choir to break into a lively song if my emotions get the better of me. Her first love was the Lazy Bee Ranch in Arizona, where she was raised, a place where she could look out across the rugged high desert, unobstructed by trees, and she could see forever. She loved books. Growing up with a Lazy Bee and living 30 miles from town was an isolating experience. Books transported her to another place as a young girl and ultimately led her to Stanford and beyond. She loved the law and the Supreme Court. She loved our country and our democracy. And most of all, she loved her family. From her father, she learned toughness. From her mother, she learned how to handle any situation with grace. Her relationship with her husband, our dad, John O'Connor, was one for the ages. They were the ultimate supporters and fans of one another in a marriage that lasted 57 years. Despite our colorful flaws, she loved her 3 sons, and she adored her daughters-in-law and the grandchildren that followed. In 2006, at age 76, she stepped down from the Supreme Court. Obviously, after her long, incredible career, it was time to kick back, play golf, and drink margaritas, right? Not for Sandra Day O'Connor. She saw a big problem looming in the country, and she decided to do something about it. She became concerned that citizens were increasingly disengaged from their democracy. She looked to the future, and she saw so clearly, decades before anyone else, that our democracy could not be taken for granted. She could not have been more prescient. So she started a nonprofit called iCivics, you've heard about today already, designed to teach young people how our government and how our democracy work in a way that's really fun and engaging, using online, interactive, role-based games and great content, all for free. The concept took off. Today, iCivics is used by half of all middle school and high school kids in this country, and over half the schools. To you business types, let me put her iCivics accomplishment in another way. At the age of 78, our mom founded and led a hot, tech-based nonprofit startup. Within 10 years, she had achieved over 85% market share and 50% market penetration. Not too shabby. Church is a place for confession, and I feel the need to come clean today on a family secret we protected for decades related to this very topic. Years ago, while going through my mom's papers, I came across a box containing her report cards from middle school and high school. Of course, her marks were sterling, until I was shocked to see something. A B. A scarlet B. In the first semester of a trimester of one of her classes. And imagine what class it was in. Civics. Sandra Day O'Connor once got a B in civics. In the presence of the President, the Supreme Court justices, and all of you today, I ask you this. Based on her 40-year dedication to promoting the rule of law and democracy in home and abroad, do you think she has earned enough extra credit to raise that lowly B in civics to an A? Okay. What was she like? Quite simply, she was a force of nature. When she walked into a room, everything was more vivid. She willed things into action. People had a very hard time saying no to her, except her 3 sons and some of her lively colleagues on the Supreme Court. She had unearthly energy, as one of her law clerks said of her. Her way of relaxing after a long workday was to play 3 sets of tennis or 18 holes of golf. As we heard, she would often drag her clerks out on big outings or hikes each year, rain or shine. She brainwashed us as kids to think our turbocharged level of family activities was normal. Did we really need to go to 3 family parties and a square dance, yes, a square dance, all in one night? It was not normal. She drew people in, took an interest in them, and made them feel special. Evan Thomas said a few minutes ago, she could be known as bossy. Well, her family could agree there's a lot of truth to that. But Evan, don't forget, she was the boss.